Hello and welcome everybody to our North Tonawanda City School District August 5th update. For right now, our focus is reopening. So we're going to go over some of our reopening plans for this school year. So there's a lot of things that change, and I can't even say daily anymore. I have to say hourly. So a lot of things are happening in district, a lot of things are happening at the statewide and the countywide level. So you know that last Friday, the 31st of July, all school districts had to submit a reopening plan. And most districts covered everything that was in the state guidance, and we posted the state guidance on our webpage as well. And then the governor came on the other day and was talking all about the percentage of tests that will be done in each school district to sort of get a sampling on a daily or weekly basis. And that was not in the guidance, so a lot of us did not have that in the plan. Reason being is that to be a testing site, there's a lot of paperwork and process that has to be done to be a testing site. So in Niagara County, we had a couple hospitals in Niagara Community College's areas, and we all contacted after that video our Department of Health, Niagara County Department of Health with Dan Stapleton, and then he was on the news as well as what he told us is that there's no way that this area would be able to get the number of tests required. So there's a lot happening because we don't know if that means he's going to tell us we have to be fully remote and we can't open without tests and without a guarantee of a quick turnaround of the testing. And that just doesn't affect North Tonawanda, remember, with close to 4,000 students. It's Niagara Falls with close to 7,000 students, and Lockport with 4,500 students, and Niagara Wheatfield and Star Point. So even if you're saying 10% of every school district, that's a lot of tests. So there's a lot of unknowns with that. But we're proceeding until we hear otherwise. So we'll talk a little bit about the hybrid model that was introduced last week, where we're going to split the alphabet on Monday, Tuesday, and then the other half of the alphabet on Thursday, Friday, with a remote learning day on Wednesday. And we're working with teachers. Each building now are having weekly meetings to look at their makeup, the structure of the building, what will work for arrivals and dismissals, which will look different this year for parents who are sending their students, as well as how bag lunches and cafeterias and bathroom breaks and mask breaks will all take place. Obviously, our K-3 buildings that we have three of, Drake, Ohio, and Spruce, are going to look different probably than NTI that has 4, 5, and 6 graders in it and are of an older age. So each building's coming up with a little bit different tweak following the guidelines and safety because they know the number of staff they have, they know the number of students they're anticipating, and all that has to be worked out before we can open safely. So with that said, today on the website is the North Tonawanda City School District registration form for full-time remote instructional model. We, what? I was blocking her. Sorry. So, so it's an application that's online, and we're asking everyone to fill that out. I'll also be doing a global call later today, so that if someone's not watching Facebook, they know that that's available. We're asking families, again, to fill this out, and you would be committing to a maximum of 10 weeks of remote instruction. And in addition to that, it gives us our numbers of who's coming to school. So if you're planning on sending your kids in the hybrid model, you don't have to fill out this survey. It's only the people who would like to keep their kids home during this sort of uncertain 10-week period. Remember I said we're going to commit to 10 weeks, but obviously if after 5 weeks, the end of September, things are looking good, the rates are still down, that might be shortened to a 7-week time frame. It gives us a week or two to plan and bring all the kids back. Or if the rates are going up, or not going down and we're not comfortable, we may keep in that model for the full 10 weeks. So, but we're sort of doing this so families can plan accordingly for daycare and that type of things when they're not in school. So we encourage you all to go to the webpage. On our webpage, there's a header, and right after home comes the next tab, which is COVID-19. And when you click on that, you'll see a link to the form that you can fill out. It's going to ask you your name, phone number, address, and then it has some questions that if you need internet because you don't have it, that will be provided. If you need a device for everybody, we know we already talked about that K-12, everyone will get a device because even in the hybrid model, you'll need it on the days you're off. But anything that you have at home that you're more comfortable with, you can use in place of. And then if there's any special accommodations your child needs, as well as like if you're not registered and those types of things, and if you're thinking of registering. So that is due August 14th, because then our plan, if nothing changes at the state, is that the week of August 17th, we then have to make sure that the A through L and the split of the alphabet works for who's coming to school and no classes are overcrowded, and if there's tweaks that need to be made. I've gotten a lot of comments from parents that have said that, what if I need a different day? Can I switch from the alphabet? Or my family has two last names. Can they go on the same day? That type of thing. And that'll be basically decided on class sizes and then our transportation. Because if you need transportation, that could be a disclaimer for not getting a switch based on the routes that we have set up. So that's the piece that we need everyone to do in the next week, is to fill out the form without blocking her. And it's a mirror image here, so I'm trying my best, sorry. So the form looks like this. I believe it's red header. When you open it up, you'll see it. And we'll do a global call and direct people to that. There'll also be a link from Facebook directly to the form that comes up. The next big topic was the school supply list, and that was gone over and looked at. There's a few things that were taken off, but the general rule this year is that the basics, okay? If you're elementary, you want paper, you want your crayon box and your crayons, you want paper and pencil, a few folders. We don't need to burden anybody with all the other stuff. Plus, if you're trying to send in hand sanitizer or wipes or something like that, they might be confiscated if they have too much alcohol or something in them. So we'll try and get that out there, but we're not asking for that. The teachers will have that in the room provided by the school district. 7 through 12, again, while there's lists on there, typically those teachers, if they're in a special class like a biology lab or a math that needs a calculator, that information is provided the first couple days of school. And we also have backups in school if someone can't find it at that time. So our best bet is to just get the basics for school supplies. The list is online, and you can get it at any time and start buying those things. But just remember that basic, I need paper, pencil, pens, those are what we're looking for. So those are some of the hot topics from last time. And as we go through the next couple of weeks with guidance from the state, if we can open, we're going to be getting those registration forms in for full remote, and then making phone calls the week of August 15th that week, because the 14th, I believe, is a Friday. Yeah, so we'll start on the 17th with locking everybody in for a while. I'm going to stop and look at the questions. So 7th grade orientation is, you'll get a letter. Basically, the old-fashioned way would not be in. There are, a letter went out for 9th graders about keeping September 2nd open, because if they can and we're moving forward, they would do more information via a phone call and the webpage about a time frame, because we'd have to break the kids into 5 groups, so we would never have more than 50 in the Fine Arts Center, and that way they could be spaced and socially distanced for an orientation. In seventh grade, I know a lot of kids are new to that building, but they're planning on covering a lot of it the first 2 days that they come to school, and there'll be a letter telling them where to go the first day of school. That's the plan as of today. Like I said, things change by the hour and by the week. How about Niagara Arlene Special Education in Newfane? So the way it works is if your student is placed in a district for education outside of North Tonawanda, you typically follow the North Tonawanda schedule. Now, with that said, our students who are in 811 and 1211 classes, we're looking at a 5 or 4 day a week schedule. So even in Newfane or Roy Hart or Barker or any of those districts that have some of the programs that our children need, you'll get a specific notice if it's going to be 4 days or 5 days, and that type of busing and transportation would be provided for those classes. We're not anticipating the hybrid model in those rooms. We think we can socially distance the full 8 or 12 on a daily model, and they're in those rooms because they need specific skills and catch up, and we're hoping to be able to offer that as normal. Do I need to sign up for the bus service, or is that automatic? So the way the bus service works is that you will be contacted through a letter or through a phone call if you qualify, asking to make sure that you will be there on the days and what days you're assigned. If you are a special ed student, obviously they'll go over all that pickup as well for the 5 day a week. And if you're a regular ed student, once we know how many students aren't coming, then we route the buses again to make sure they're not overcrowded, and then we will build a schedule and contact parents about what time the bus comes. Now, the qualifier on that is, do I need to sign up for bus service or is it automatic? You need to go on the web page, see what grade level your students are in, and if they qualify for the bus. If they qualify for the bus because you're a mile away or a mile and a half away or more, depending on the school, or 2 miles, then you're automatic in there. So it's not guaranteed that our kids are going to be on the same day with different last names. How is that supposed to help? No, it is going to be guaranteed. So I don't know how to explain it differently, but so if I'm a apple and a zucchini, I live in the same family, they're going to look at that in e-school because they'll know that they're at the same household. And based on the numbers that we're looking at, they'll be assigned either a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday, regardless of their last name. But both students would be looking to come from that household on the same 2 days. So one of the teachers is saying the spiral notebooks, not just the loose leaf paper. So that's probably important to grab. Those are usually the 79 or 99-cent ones that you can grab. No need to get a real thick, 5 subjects with the dividers and everything. Do children who are doing remote only have to remain remote throughout the year if things are going well? Well, I covered that at the beginning. So we're going to have you lock in for the 10 weeks remote, and our goal is to open up. So here's an important fact on that. So if you sign up for remote learning, we're going to relook at things after 10 weeks. If things are going well and we're still staying in the hybrid model, you may change at that point to come in. Or if we're closed, everyone's remote, right? But if we open up because the numbers stay low, or there's a vaccine that's put out and everything is back to normal, the only people who would be remote at that point then, when we're fully open, is if they had a doctor's note requesting them not to come to school. We're allowing parents without the doctor's note to choose remote because we know that everyone's got a different family situation. But once we're back to full school, we would go back to the old way that if you're not in school, you need a doctor's note. Okay, we can't. Why can't we get the testing supplies we need? They're just not available in the quantity that the state would need. There's 700 school districts, and we're talking about millions of students, and we'll have to wait and see what the governor says, what he feels is a ample sampling, 5%, 10%, and how often that's done. Then, of course, um, parents would have to almost submit or give approval for us to test their kids randomly and send that result in. And there's different kinds of tests. One's a poke and a prick that they stick up the nose. The other one's a swab. The swab is usually just for antibodies. It doesn't tell you if you are currently with the disease or not. So it's not that easy just to say, oh, we have the test, and it's like fill out a line and you're tested. There could be parents or students who don't want to have that done to them, and so it gets very complicated very quickly. There is not an introduction plan for our kindergarten kiddos. Typically, we would do that in the evening or an afternoon with the teachers where they would open up and invite the kids in. But again, I think that could be possible or change once we see the numbers that are coming in. And so if Mrs. Jones' kindergarten class has 7 kids on Mondays, Tuesdays, maybe there would be some kind of orientation for them one afternoon for just the 7. But that'll be another big change, is because parents will not be allowed in the building. So I know it's going to be hard to bring a kindergartner to a school for the first time they've never been in and drop them off and all that. So, you have to weigh that in your decision. But if we have 140 students coming to Ohio school, and then you have 140 parents, or 2 parents want to come, you're getting up to that 200-300 number very quick with staff and everything. So it just won't be possible to do it in mass going forward. Are we being asked to complete this full-time remote form if we are okay with sending our kids to school? I said no. If you're sending your kids to school, you do not need to fill out that form. So all these guidelines are regulation, and regulations are only for 10 weeks, and then everything will be revisited again. Yeah, so that was part of the guidance, that these reopening plans need to be fluid and they need to be changed. So we have a rule like now with masks, right? And right now we're saying you can send in a mask, plus the school is going to provide masks for those who need them or forget them. But let's say he lets everybody open, and September 15th he says only this type of mask is going to work to keep schools open. Then you can't send in a mask anymore, or the mask we bought might not work, or they might be the right kind. We'll have to get new masks. So this can change, and so the reason for the 10 weeks is to hopefully monitor what we put in place, see if it's working, and then upgrade or back off if we can, slowly as we go through the 10 weeks. There should have been a letter sent out to 9th graders for orientation, which I already mentioned, and it just said to keep September 2nd open, and if we get closer to September 2nd, we'll do a global call and another mailing or a web page notification about what time what students can come for orientation. It would be students only. Send, and also for transportation and devices are needed. How and when will? Okay. So once we know how many students are coming, we know we don't have to hand out those devices ahead of time. We can give them in school. So if you fill out the form to have remote learning, that will also then give us a number by building and grade level for who needs a device, and then a plan will be constructed for multiple pickup times for the different buildings to come and pick up their devices. So she's saying, what's the expectation if I send my first grader to school the first day at Ohio? Trying to plan according for my full-time work schedule to take off that week to be a little more available for her. Also, thank you so much for keeping us informed and transparent. So the school schedule, the calendar's coming out. They're going to print a calendar like we always do, because we follow a 6-day cycle. The times of the start for each building will be there. And the only difference will be is that depending on your last name, you'll either be coming on Mondays and Tuesdays or Thursdays and Fridays. That said, the start of the school year was scheduled for a Tuesday the 8th. which is now going to be a staff development day. Wednesday's a remote day, so our first day with a number of parents and students who are planning would be, if you're in the N through Z category, your first day will be Thursday, September 10th, and then Friday, September 11th. And then Monday, the 14th and 15th would be the front end of the alphabet coming in. So if you're working and you're worried about getting your kids to school the first week, that calendar is going to be adopted tonight at the board meeting, and then we'll be updating parents on that. So it gives you a little bit more time in September to plan. What do we do as a parent if a child is in a small class and it's difficult to get to sit at home to do work? Well, that's a parenting issue, right? It's also a school issue because we want them to do the work. But if you're in a small class, I'm assuming you're saying they're in a special education class, and those classes will be 4 or 5 days a week, so there shouldn't be as much at-home work to do. If you mean a small class that the kindergarten has 6 kids in it on Mondays and Tuesdays because of the alphabet split, and they're not doing it, the amount of work would really be more online and games, and so you're going to try and get as much in as you possibly can. I've said this from the start, there's no replacement for being in school 5 days a week, and we're hoping to get back there. So you can do the best that you can do, right? You know, it's what it is. Okay, I plan on sending my daughter to school. Do I need to fill out that she needs an iPad? Also, with Wi-Fi stinks at our house, how will hotspots work? Okay, so bears repeating. So if you're coming to school, you will get your iPad at school. There will be a form for parents to sign, so they might not get it the first day, but they'd get it the second day when the form's returned. And then also, when they're calling you to say this is your day, you're going to be in Mrs. Jones' class on Mondays and Tuesdays, and you have an issue with the internet, you will let them know then, and then it'll be part of a pickup or a send home with the kids as well, for the hotspots that we're purchasing for those who need it. How do I go about online learning is a whole video session itself. So I think you're asking, how do I sign up for online learning? And that's the form under COVID-19 on our webpage. The calendar is not updated at the moment because it's not board approved. It'll be updated tomorrow for 2021 if there's any changes approved tonight. I already mentioned school supplies. It's online, and you can start to do your best to buy for each grade level that's listed. And less is more. If you can't find everything, send in the basics: notebooks, folders, pencils, pens, crayons. So it says, if a vaccine comes out, will families be forced to give that to their children in order for them to attend school? I am not the health department, but my best guess would be yes, because that's what they did with all the vaccinations with measles, mumps, rubella, chickenpox, all that stuff. So it would probably be added to that list to attend public school. I don't know that. It's my guess. So how will kids get their iPads back if they were being repaired over the summer? Common sense tells you they'll get it when they're back in school, or if you're choosing home learning, there's going to be a day when we know how many people are choosing home learning that you will be notified to come pick up your iPad. How will the school notify if someone is positive at school, whether teacher or... Okay, so it's not a rumor that we won't tell you anything when someone's COVID positive. If we know we have COVID positive cases because the person reports that to us, we would let the community know, basically through school, I could do a global call that we had 2 cases of positive, blah, 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 blah. Won't be very specific to grade level or teacher or student. And the only way we will know is if the person reports that to us and they have there's no requirement that they have to report it to us. So we could have people who get the case positive and they are responsible and stay home for 14 days, but when we call, they just say Joey's sick, and they don't tell us what he's sick with, and that's their right to do that. So we wouldn't be able to report that, obviously. But if we know someone was sent home with symptoms and the test comes back 2 days later and it's positive, we would notify, because we have to notify the Department of Health, and they would give us guidance on if a building, a room, a school needs to be closed down. So there will be notifications coming home via phone, because that's the quickest way to get to everybody. I mentioned, yes, we're going to do a 1 through 6 cycle. So if you come in on the 10th and 11th, and those are your Thursday, Fridays to come in, it's a day 1, it's a day 2. So you get the specials that are on day 1 and day 2. So then the Monday, Tuesday kids come in, it's a day 3, it's a day 4. So they get their 3 and 4 special. Wednesday is a day 5, but nobody's here, so nobody gets those specials. And then Thursday, the 17th and 18th of September, would be a 6 and a 1. So we're just going to follow it, and whatever day is there is what they're going to get, because we don't want to redo the calendar every time we're open 5 days or 4 days or 3 days. Plus, if our small special ed classes are here 5 days a week, they need to follow a 5-day, the 6 days calendar. So we can't just count 1, 2, 3, 4 every Monday and Tuesday. It's going to follow the calendar. Okay. Where do I find the supply list? So I didn't go there today beforehand, but it should be, if you go to the web page, there's a search button, and if you type in elementary and intermediate school supply list, which is the title, it should come up. If you're having trouble finding that, you can always leave a message at your child's school and they can tell you where that is, or I'll try and put that in the Facebook comments later, the direct spot. I don't think it's under COVID-19. It would be under the school specific, or type in school supply list in the search line. So they're saying last year's is online, and I'm using it as a general, but it's very similar. We just took a few things off. So yes, if you're using last year's, you're fine. I already answered the one about how do they get a tablet. They'll get a tablet at school. So BOCES yesterday said that they will be allowing students to drive for the CT classes. There's going to be forms to fill out and paperwork that parents are allowing that. If the parents are going to allow them to come with a friend, they have to fill that out as well. So there could be 2 people in a car to carpool a little bit, but it's going to basically be by parent approval only. So if we don't have that, and then I'm there with my friend Joe, and I want to take Joe back to school, they won't allow Joe to come with me unless there's been permission by both Joe's parents and my parents that they could drive together. If you did not get a letter for 9th grade orientation, I know that there's people in the guidance office. You could call them. I think it just went out, so it could be also coming in the next day or 2. And all it says is keep September 2nd open for 9th graders. There's no time or date or anything. It's saying we'll let you know if we're doing this, and if we do it and we're okay to do it, it'll be September 2nd. So really, you don't need the letter. All you need to keep open is September 2nd. School supply lists will be posted. Okay. Is the plan to have the virtual learning? Oh, this keeps jumping on me. Where'd it go? I'm sorry, all my feeds just jumped. Okay. When will the bus schedules come out? Bus schedules will be out after we know who's coming and not coming. So after August 14th, we need some time to make calls. So probably the end of August. Yes, of course, if you have a device, you don't have to take a device. About kindergarten screen. No kindergarten screening this year. It'll be done in the class. So someone said the hotspot worked for her daughter last year. You have to watch how much you use. So that will be an issue going forward, but I think the ones we're providing shouldn't have a problem. Again, the M through Z and the A through L question will be when the school contacts you. You can tell them it'll be based on numbers. There's no guarantee that they'll switch you, but I'm anticipating we'll have a few slots at each level. Universal Pre-K is planning to work, I think, on the hybrid model as well, and that's the Carousel Academy, and they'll be contacting families for that, but yes, there will be Pre-K. Schools have a set sanitation plan. So yes, there's recommendations, and we've already purchased the fogger for disinfecting that'll be used every night. Checklists are being made for bathrooms and classrooms for cleaning at night, and then in between classes at the secondary level, desks being wiped down and cleaned. So if you have OT or PT or speech and you're choosing social distancing, those families will be getting a phone call to talk about the service and what it might look like or what we would be able to offer. So that's going to be different for everybody because everyone's got a different plan. So NTI would follow, same thing as middle school and the high school for orientation. They're talking about maybe doing small groups at a time, and we have to look at that. So the incoming fourth grade is about 250 students. So for them to do that with or without a parent, it's going to take multiple sessions. So we have to stay tuned for that. Have you thought about doing A through L go Monday and Thursday, M through Z go Tuesday and Friday? So, yeah, we looked at all those, but the contamination rate doubles when you're in back-to-back different students. This method gives us a little bit more downtime and clearing time with kids who may be infected not being scheduled to be in the building. So I already answered the speech and PT one that they'll be making phone calls on how to do that. Well, this is saying how's it going to be fair and kids could cheat at home and that type of stuff. So there just might be more assignments that are holistic in nature. So you have to write a paragraph or more of an essay form to answer questions. Of course, with math, that doesn't work that way, but there are ways to check during the day when they're in class. And if you're full virtual, that will be a method that we're going to have to cross that bridge when we get there. And every school district's working on that to see what we could do. But yeah, I don't know that there is an answer to that. So it's saying with the split, are we doing like half the curriculum because you're teaching Monday, Tuesday kids, and then you're teaching the same thing Thursday, Friday, and that's not our intention. Once we get rolling into the 10 weeks, obviously the first week of school is rules, learning math, social distancing, just learning the teacher and the kids in the class names and those types of things. But once we get going, the Monday, Tuesday kids will learn, let's say, adding 2 plus 2 in kindergarten and going forward, and then they'll be practicing and growing on that. So those types of assignments to practice and learn will be sent home virtually for the Thursday, Friday kids to be doing, so that when they come in, they should have a little bit of a basis and the teacher should be able to pick up and keep going with the Thursday, Friday curriculum. We know that's not going to happen every place, and the curriculum will probably most likely slow down. So that's our goal, to get back to full 100% school as much as possible. But we will be moving through weeks of curriculum and be required to learn at home or practice at home once we do the teaching. So it says, I'm guessing no band this year, and while there probably won't be many concerts, band instruction and music instruction and chorus instruction, we're working out the space. You have to be 12 feet apart to do those types of activities, and we do have some larger spaces where we think we can do that with the kids and give them lessons. So we are planning on having instruments. It's the same as clean. So a lot of people are answering questions because they've heard it, and some people are just jumping on. They updated the list. Last name for hybrid model, yes. Will virtual students be introduced via Dojo to their class? So we're thinking that might be what Wednesday looks like, where the two halves meet on a virtual Teams meeting or Zoom meeting or something like that. So the Boys and Girls Club and the YMCA have contacted us to have their before and after school daycare, so to speak. They're also wondering about Wednesdays. The city's also maybe looking to do something at the rec department during the day, because they know that families will need this, but nothing for during the day has been cemented because things are changing. But the before and after daycare that we usually provide will be provided. What day in September will a child going into 4th grade at NTI with the last name D be beginning with? Very specific question with the very specific answer of September 10th. So the kids eat in the cafeteria is going to vary by building. The K through 3s looking at maybe not doing that and having them eat in the room. 4 through 12 is looking to space them distantly in the cafeteria. But again, things change daily, but each building's got to look at their space and how they can do it. So virtual students meet their teacher online, and will assignments be given via him or her directly? So yes, so virtual students are going to have to get a packet, a direction, a device, all that information. Probably on a Wednesday is when they'll meet their rest of their class if they were in school, and the teacher for going through that piece of it. And then assignments and check-in daily would be the norm going forward for a full virtual model. Numbers. Let's see. Someone posted last year's school supply list, but then I saw another person said it has been updated. So, but there's not a lot of changes. So if an elementary student does not come at all, and we're open in the hybrid model, they would be given a device, if you don't have one, and a login to go through the math and reading assignments or science and social studies assignments that the teacher from where they would have been assigned posts. So if I have Mrs. Smith in 1st grade and Mrs. Smith posts a science lesson, it'll be there. Could be a video for them to watch with questions to answer afterwards. It could be an activity that they just watch that the teacher put online. It could be a ready-made lesson that we're using from a couple of vendors that cover the New York State curriculum as well. So for elementary, it will be hard because we can't expect those little guys to sit for 6 or 7 hours in front of a computer and learn. So the lessons would probably not be as robust as they would be if they were coming to school, but there will be daily lessons and anticipation of them doing them so we can see who's logged in and what's been turned in. I think I'm getting back to where I got kicked out before. Let's see. Virtual students will have work for 5 days, correct? Yes. So it's not uncommon, though, that a teacher would say, you're reading these chapters at the secondary level and you're writing questions or summaries that will be due on Thursday. So it gives them time to read and do the questions. So, I mean, to sort of say that there'll be an assignment each day, it could be an assignment that's anticipated would take 2 days or 3 days. So, but there will be daily check-ins and attendance to see. Remember, using Schoology, we can see when and how long students have logged in for. So there will be phone calls being made home if your student's not logging in as well, because those are non-attendance days basically, and we need to fix that. Do I have to register my child if they were in school last year? No, they just moved up. They'll move up. If they were in school last year, you probably got a report card. I don't know what grade level that is that you're asking about, but it usually says, promoted to the next grade in elementary, and if you're at secondary, it just moves up. Boys and Girls Club are working with us. We'll get the details out when they finalize it. Spray bottles and microfiber cloths will be given to teachers for in between classes. There's also classrooms that might have less desks in it that have to happen, or they might have a full classroom of desks marked red and blue X's, so that in between classes they're not sitting at the same desk. It gives it more time for it to clean up and anything on it to air dry and hopefully kill any viruses. Would you do the registration if you plan on doing full remote learning rather than hybrid? So if you're talking about register for school, yes, you still have to register for school. Do you have to fill out the remote learning plan if you're going to do hybrid? No. And if you're doing full remote. So if you're doing full remote and you're already registered in North Tonawanda, you still have to fill out that form so we know that that's your plan. So right now the question on if I'm doing full virtual and sports open up, can my son please come back and just do sports? The answer right now is not going to be a North Tonawanda only decision. It's sort of a county decision and state decision, and it's no, because we don't anticipate sports starting until school's back 100%. And like I said earlier, if school's back 100%, then you should be in school unless you have a doctor's note. And if you have a doctor's note, you probably can't play a sport. So it's not going to be either or. So how will virtual students integrate with other students? So during the hybrid model, we're hoping to do that on Wednesdays where they will meet together so they can see the whole class, including virtual, the Monday, Tuesday, the Thursday, Friday, and the virtual kids that are assigned to teachers. How would teachers enforce the mask wearing, especially with the younger kids, because I have a feeling kids will trade masks because one looks cooler than the other, and how would you enforce it without breaking social distancing, especially with kids that want to be close with other kids because they're kids? Exactly. which is another reason why I think the governor shouldn't open schools. But I think kids are more resilient sometimes than adults, and they want to follow the rules. They want to be good for the most part, and those one or two that are having issues, obviously we'll be working with those parents and having social workers and counselors talk to them about the importance. So nothing's perfect. Um, you're talking about masks, but I can see one kid walking by another kid's desk and picking up a pencil, not thinking, and touching a pencil. So it's going to have to be a lot of training the first, couple weeks of school. So someone's saying after 10 weeks and the plan's reevaluated, we can also reevaluate what we choose, and that's correct. We would have to do some kind of reorganization and re-polling of the people to sort of see what their thoughts are, and then look at those numbers for how the class sizes are going and if we can still maintain social distancing if we can't go back 100%. I'm curious to know how it works with my children. Our M&T online, how will the teachers be able to teach or answer questions from them if they are busy with the class and the other half of their class? So I think you're assuming that the students who are home will be online at the same time the teacher's teaching. And that's not necessarily the model that we have. If you're choosing virtual, the lessons will be there daily for them to access, except for maybe on a Wednesday. But other than that, those students would be working pretty much like they did in the spring when we closed, is that they have to do their assignments and send them in, except that the teachers would be looking for attendance on a daily basis. So that it's not going to be the live stream of a class that your students from home will be watching. Okay. If a student starts out in the hybrid model but feels uncomfortable once being in the buildings, can they switch to the all remote prior to the end of the 10-week period? So that could be an option. We would want to work with them to make sure that they are feeling comfortable and are back. If you just choose to pull them out because they're not comfortable and don't work with us and talk with us about that, they're basically marked absent. So we got to work on that model and how that would work. So, I mean, a lot of these are just repeats, so I could go on, but yes, we'll provide tablets. Can anyone tell me where the form to fill out for busing is? Can't seem to find it on the website. There isn't a form. We kind of know by address in the school that, if you qualify or not. Your best bet would be to call the bus garage and ask if you're not sure. There is a form, I take it back. So if you want your child to go to a daycare after school or a different drop off, you fill out a form, because otherwise it's busing to and from the bus stop by your house. So there is that form. But to say I want to be bused, it just goes by mileage, and then they send those home because we have everything in a database. What are school hours Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and Friday? They're the regular hours that are printed in last year's calendar and the new calendar coming out, and each level has a different start and end time, but nothing's changing from last year. When's the first day of school? It is anticipated for the N through Z's that it'll be September 10th and 11th, and for the A through L's, A through L's it'll be 14th and 15th of September. If we open virtually because of not making testing requirements, are the teachers going to have class at the class time? Period one starts at 7:50. So that is something they're working on, but that seems to be the most effective model going forward, that they would follow the schedule for checking in and making adjustments as needed. Again, there's building committees working on those right now, so that will be decided in the near future. Yes, NTI and Drake students with the same last name go on the same day. So, they're saying if a child's in daycare, how can they get on during the day? They're not going to be able to, so the work will be there for them to do when it's convenient for that family. So the app where they're asking for elementary students to receive the assignments will be on the iPad or device that we give you. If you choose to use your own device, there'll be login information provided for you to do that. Children of the same household will be good. NTI first day virtual for the name Z. So the first virtual day and all of kids with the name Z would be September 14th. So it's saying, what app should I download? I wouldn't download anything yet because we're still working with the creators of the apps and BOCES, and they're updating them and changing them and trying to get them all ready for us. So if you try to do it now, in a week you'll have to do it again or have to update it. So just wait till we get it set, and then we'll do a global call, or we'll send something out, or I'll do a Facebook Live and let you know. But you can't really get ahead of the game because they're tweaking them as they go, because some of these devices, you have to remember, and apps were not designed for a state to use. And basically with BOCES, the state uses only so many apps that are reimbursable and gone through a security check to make sure that data and privacy can't be stolen. So they're tweaking those they're working just as hard as school districts and parents are to make sure that these apps are ready to go for September. So no sense doing anything now, you just have to wait. We answered that, so you'll be contacted for transportation to Roy Hart. Okay. Gemini misses me. I miss you too. All right. Once they're seated and set for the day, the mask can come off, though correct, since they will be 6 feet apart. So yes and no with that. It's one of those things is in the interpretation of the rules. We thought if they were going to be socially distanced, that masks would come off, but it seems like it's going to be mask breaks and not to have it off for the whole period or time. That the only time masks are off are when they are eating. Virtual students ever get to see their teacher actually teaching live on occasion. And it could happen on Wednesdays if they're going to do one lesson for everybody. Or if they tape a lesson, but it's not live. So the only way I can say that would probably be Wednesdays. So I answered all the band question that they're going to try to do band in 4th through 12th grade. This is kind of if we have a child that is sick at home, can the siblings still do virtual learning until the parent is comfortable sending? So I'm interpreting that as that I have one child who's got ailments or sickness who wouldn't go to school. and they have siblings, that you want to do virtual learning. So that would be an option until we go back to 100% back because of whatever we're allowed. Then the only way they could stay home is to have a doctor's note. Will there be half days with the distance and hybrid learning? So we sort of adjusted the calendar because we can't really have a lot of parents coming in and out. And we'll probably do more Zoom or phone conferences with parents if we have them in the fall. But there may need to be a half day so teachers have time to contact parents. So while we left them on the calendar, they could be eliminated. Things like open house, and that won't be happening. So we have a rule for the bathrooms. We're going to be sending on the size. They're being measured. How many can be in there at once? Masks have to be worn. They will be cleaned on the hour, every hour. We're going to, elementary, some of them have it in their room that they can go to. It's no different than if you go to Walmart or Wegmans and have to use the bathroom. It's not guaranteed that it was cleaned immediately after the person afterwards. So while we are concerned about that, and we will be doing more cleaning throughout the day, it is what it is at that point. You can't disinfect a room after every person and expect it to be ready when the person needs it, because it takes 15 to 20 minutes for the disinfectant to work. But they will be cleaned. What happens if a teacher needs to quarantine with regard to virtual students? So that teacher would be teaching both in person and the virtual students, and a sub would have to be secured. What happens to the process if there is okay, what's the process if there's a positive COVID result in a teacher or student? Throughout the school, will the school be closed or something? The Department of Health will guide us on that. There's different levels of what's happening. It's not an automatic, but it's probable that there could be 24 hours, 48 hours type of thing. So if you have 6 children with 3 different last names, it looks like you're going to have to work that out with the buildings when they call you, and they will be contacting you to lock you into the day, so that'll happen. So it says, what if Cuomo decides to leave it to the parents per his conference yesterday? Would you poll the district and go with the majority, or stay with the hybrid and distance learning model? So what I think he said is to leave it up to the parents if they're comfortable to send them or not to open or close school. So, and that would be an interesting poll, because I think we would be split 3 ways. Don't open 100%, or no, just the hybrid. So then, you pick one model, you're alienating the other 2/3. So, which is kind of what happens in any day, right? But I don't think it's going to get to that point, but we'll see. Anything's possible. So are the air filter systems updated? So that's an interesting question. We don't have central air or forced air in a lot of places. Those places that do have it are being required for us to put new filters and make sure and check. In the classrooms, there's this air handler that brings in outside air, and those are better and healthier than the ones that are recirculating like a forced air. But yes, so we use a company called Danforth. We have our in-house maintenance, and part of the summer work is that they're updating and maintaining those. You see this jumping around on me, right? Keeps jumping for some reason. Do you think it is possible for elementary children to keep their masks on all day, especially when there's no air conditioning. So no, I do not. And at one of our building meetings that we were having, a teacher suggested that, when they are seated and working, they can give, mini 2, 3 minute, 5 minute breaks and say, okay, Susie, take your mask off while you're sitting there. Okay, Susie, your break's over. Joey, you take yours down. So there's kind of changing that, who gets the break, and so it's not just at one time and you got to wait an hour to get to the break time, that it would be throughout the day at different times. So each building's working on that. Yes, say that. Okay, I think it's jumping because I'm at the end, so I probably missed a bunch, and I'm sure there's a lot more questions, and we do look at these feeds throughout the week and try to answer when there's something going on, and we'll continue to do that. I'll be back next Wednesday, which is August 12th already, and we hope to have more guidance from the governor on specifics, as well as the Department of Health. If something comes up before the 12th and I need to do a Facebook Live, I will, because it's always there and you can access it when needed, but I might not have the interpreter. So we'll have to work that out a little bit for those people who need that piece. But at least the information would be out there and we could translate it later at some point for those people who need it. So we have a busy day today, meetings all day with the building principals who are then planning their building committee meetings. We have a board meeting tonight, more meetings tomorrow with the Niagara County superintendents, and we are going to try and get you as much information as you need as possible. But your homework for the week is to fill out the distance learning plan if you plan on using that by August 14th. Please spread the word. I'll be doing a global call as well as putting the link on Facebook so that we can get those done, because that's going to drive a lot of who can go on what day, what transportation we need, and all that. So it's a very important form to fill out, so please take time to do that. It's only 2 sides, looks like about 10 questions, but it's invaluable that you do that if you plan on not sending your student to school, okay? And then we'll be contacting families the week after that, which will be August 17th. So thank you for your time, thank you for your questions, and stay safe. We'll be back again soon.